feels like there are 1,000 different problems going on in our country today. And if you ask 1,000 different people, what's the pressure that we're all feeling? Everybody would have a different answer, right? But it's weird. Everybody feels the pressure. We all feel the squeeze, but somehow we all have different answers when we actually try to explain it. Some people, hey, right? Politics. No, it's other people making bad decisions. Oh, it's just immigrants or lazy people or the government. And it's weird because there is this problem going on. We all feel it, but nobody agrees on what the actual answer is. Why are we all pointing in different directions? It's like something is broken, but we can't quite name it. And that's why we drop a me in the chat. So put a me in the chat, y'all, because people aren't confused. We're pissed off and tired, and we don't think that there's anything that we can actually do about it. So that's why we drop the me in the chat to show that there are many people that all feel like this. Because here's what we definitely do agree on. But if we ever try to bring it up, people get pissed at that too. If you're working 40 hours a week, you should be able to afford food and housing. That's it. That shouldn't be controversial. Never in our country's history has that been controversial. Your parents, no matter how old you are, your parents worked hard. They didn't live a life of luxury and glamour, but they could pay the rent and they could buy groceries at the same time, and they weren't worried about it. We have to check our damn bank account before we go to the grocery store every single time, and I'm sick of it. We are all sick of this economy working against us. Drop a me in the chat if that is how you feel. Because we are working 40 hours a week and we're still barely able to make ends meet. And then when we try to talk about what the problem is, they call us lazy. It's insane. The ultra wealthy have screwed us over economically. And anytime we go, hey, I think they're screwing us over economically so they can take advantage of us politically. People go, oh, you're just lazy. Or it's like, no, or maybe they want people to call others lazy when they figure out the actual problem, right? That's the issue. The system protects itself. It's insane that we let it to happen because this is not normal. People could work 40 hours a week just one generation ago. But now they're working harder than ever and still falling farther behind. And that's not personal failure, right? That's a system failing us. Because this is what I ask all the time. How many people have to lose at a rigged game before we realize it's rigged? Because right now, 80% of people don't have savings, right? 80% of people don't have savings. And we all feel the pressure. And Wayne, I appreciate it, but guess what? Some people say it's the government. Some people say that it's just lazy people. Some people say it's immigrants. Some people say it's foreign influence. Why is it that we all feel that there's a problem, but we cannot agree on what it is? Could it be that the people who are causing the problem are intentionally trying to keep us confused? Absolutely, Stephanie. But when we bring that up, it's crazy, right? We'll say most Americans, and I'll give you the numbers, it's 208 million people. Out of 260 million adults, 208 million of them are one paycheck away, 80% of people. But when you ask about what the problem is, people say it's the government, right? People say it's personal responsibility. When what it is, it's the ultra wealthy taking more than their fair share. Wayne says the politicians are addicted to money. Who gives the politicians money? It's not a hard question. Who is the one that funds the politicians? Because that's who they work for. Politicians got greedy because corporations have changed the laws and rewrote the rules so that they always come out on tops. Absolutely, Stephanie. So blaming the government is strange when the government is only doing the bidding of the ultra wealthy billionaires. And that's what's crazy. We all feel the same pressure. But because they own the media and they lie to us about what the problem is, we can never agree because they figured it out. If we all were easily like, oh, 1% of people has as much as 90% of us. If America was 10 people that made 10 loaves of bread, well, shit, that one asshole would take 5 loaves of bread. And that's the problem. That's not personal failure from the other 9 people. That's not them being lazy. That sure as hell ain't the government taking more than what they should. That's one person at the top taking way more than their fair share. And so everyone else doesn't have enough, not because they're lazy, not because of scarcity, but because of one person's greed. But because that person controls the media and controls the narrative, everybody always, they get people like Wayne, sorry, Wayne, that are calling the problem the government, lazy people, when really it's right here. The average cost of living and the average salary are almost the exact same. We've really got to understand that our problem is we are stuck economically, so we can't do anything politically. And yeah, we try to blame the system, but I really believe that's just another way that they divide us. Because when we stop fighting over red versus blue, what's the very next thing we fight over? What do you call your preferred economic system? Capitalism, socialism, or communism? And if it's not the exact one that I like, we can't be friends anymore. When are we going to realize that just like all of the names for these systems is just another way for them to divide us? I understand that it sure looks like it's capitalism, and that's an easy target to call out. But it's any time that you're like, oh, we need to do this. And when that term evokes the majority of people to have an emotional reaction, maybe that term isn't the best one to keep using moving forward. We just need to say, let's build something that works for people instead of against them. Because if we start talking about systems names, people get all emotional and all upset about it. But what it really is that we should be more pissed off. We should be sick of it because we are so stuck economically. Life isn't fun. Life isn't happy. Life feels like walking in the goddamn mud. Or even better, life is like a rigged carnival game. That's really what it feels like. Life feels like a rigged carnival game. Because no matter what you do, we can't get ahead, right? Because we're actually the ones that are making the rich people rich. We're doing the hard work so that they are getting richer. And then they screw us over every chance they get. And that pisses me off. It should piss more people off. And that's where we are so stuck politically because we have no savings. We have no options. We have no money. So when we try to force them to change, to do something different, they don't have to listen to us because we don't have any leverage to make them speak, right? And then if we do speak out about it, we go, hey, we think that they are keeping us so stuck economically so they can dominate us politically. They call us lazy. They tell you, oh, it's just your fault. And that's why we drop the me's in the chat. Because all we can say is, hey, something isn't adding up. We're busting our asses and still not getting ahead. And then what happens? People go, oh, well, you just must be lazy. You just must be dumb. It must just be your problem. No, 80% of people don't have savings and they're working 40 hours a week. Why doesn't working 40 hours a week cover the basics anymore? And when we actually try to have that question, people say, oh, it's your fault. And that's really the issue, is that we're doing everything we were told to do. We are working hard. We're keeping our heads down. We, go to school, get a job, get an education. And yet when we are not getting ahead, they blame us for it. It's like, we followed everything that you told us to follow. And yet it still doesn't work. And that's where we have got to understand that this is not by accident. That they know that us being one missed paycheck away from not having food, from not having our rent payment, that's freaking leverage, yo. Because if you had 6 months of savings, you could say no to your boss. You could walk, you could find a better job, you could actually learn new skills, you could move somewhere else. So what do? They make sure that none of us have the savings to be able to take a chance. And that's why, if you look at the stat, the wages and the cost of living are the exact same. Not above it, not below it, because that would cause us to actually see that there's a problem, right? Just enough to keep you working and never let you have a breath. So that's where we like to ask people, could you quit your job on Monday? Not in a month, not after a little bit of planning. Could you quit your job tomorrow? And if you can't even leave a crappy job, are you really free? We need to understand that if we do not have economic freedom, we are not free. Because you can tell someone that you've got freedom, but if you need to go into the grocery store and you can only afford rice and beans, you don't really feel free. Well, Violet, I think you're saying the same thing I am, is that the average salary doesn't cover the cost of living, right? The average salary does not cover the cost of living. But guess what? The same people that are creating the goods and services that is the cost of living, the same ones that are deciding the cost of living, the corporations, are the same ones that decide your salary. So how did we get here? What is going on? Because our parents lived in America. They didn't deal with this. Our grandparents lived in a very different America, and they didn't deal with this either. So what has changed? Why have we gotten the fact that over 80% of people, the cost of living is not the same for everyone. Someone in a rural place would have a very different cost of living than someone suburban. But this is what it always is, right? People don't actually give an answer as to why it is this way. Everybody says people are either lazy or they live above their means. Well, that's not 80% of people. Stephen, if you don't understand, then maybe wait a second, because you truly are not understanding. I just went over this. So, the farther behind someone gets, the more desperate they become. The more desperate you are, the more likely you have to stay at that job. Or even if your pay isn't enough, you can't go anywhere else. And that's not by accident, Stephen, because you're not understanding something that's really simple. If most people are one missed paycheck away from not having food or housing, how are they going to afford to move? They don't have any savings. They only have about a week worth of money in the bank account. But your big thing is, oh, they should just move. And then on the same vein, we've got Violet here saying, well, they're just lazy. Do you not understand that both of you are playing right into the hands of the billionaires? That you are the brainwashed people that are holding us back from progress. It is your problem because you don't understand that billionaires are taking advantage of you because you don't understand that's your problem. So you not realizing that's your problem is all of our problem. Because your ignorance is raising our taxes and letting the billionaires take advantage of us. We don't want the billionaires to take advantage of us. You're not able to see that the billionaires are taking advantage of us. So what they do, what people say is, oh, well, find a better job. Go move somewhere. They're just living outside of their means. But what you're not understanding is if they make sure we never have any savings, then they will be able to control us. It's not that hard. Because if you do not have 2 months or 3 months worth of savings, then your boss knows they can manipulate to do anything. If they know that you have to come in tomorrow or you're not making your rent payment, what do they say? Come in or you're fired, right? And corporations don't care about you or your family at all. They will fire thousands of people to save 1%. No, I have 34 employees. I'm able to sit here at 1050 because I have 6 different locations, and it's my employees that are getting the job done. And that's how I understand that all of life is about teamwork. I couldn't have 6 locations if I didn't have people in this community who would come work for me. And that's exactly what happens. Stephen, I really don't care what you think. I'm here every single day at 11 a.m. So here is what people miss. Most people still keep their head in their sand, right? They just are saying, not my problem, because they don't realize that when somebody underpays someone else, it actually affects all of us. Because let's go back to that little pesky thing called cost of living. It's so weird because some people seem to think that, oh, if somebody can't afford their cost of living, that's only their problem, right? And that's the kind of narrow thinking that got us here. If other people can't afford to live, let's actually think about what happens. So if other people are working at Walmart and Walmart's paying them $10, $12, $14, right? Well, that person can't afford health insurance. Walmart makes $12 billion in profit a year. So Walmart could afford to pay for their health insurance, but they choose not to because people like Stephen allow them to screw us over because they have such a poor understanding of what's happening, right? And that's where I hate people like Violet and Stephen. I really do. So I'm going to block both of them. So you just saw that. Like, that is a piece of, like, both of them. There we go. So what we need to understand, Jennifer, Brooklyn, appreciate you staying with me, is that people like Stephen and Violet are never going to be worth our time. I am not here to try to convince someone that there's a problem in our society, and none of us should be. Because if we sit here and try to convince people that there's a problem in our society, we will drive ourselves freaking crazy. Let's make it so that we understand that people's level of understanding informs their actions, right? And it's not even their level of understanding. It's just their personal experiences and their environment. What gets me so frustrated is that people like Violet and Stephen aren't here to have an exchange of personal experiences, right? Because isn't that what a conversation is? Thank you, Brooklyn. Because isn't that what a conversation is? An exchange of personal experiences. Oh, well, I experienced this, so my decision was this. Oh, you experienced that, So that's why you think that way. Oh, so cool. It's I point something out about myself. Oh, well, I have a bunch of employees, so that's why. No, you don't. Oh, well, I have employees too. And it just comes from this place of not good faith. So what we are trying to do here is find the people that are really, this is what this is for. If you're sick of protesting and you're like, yeah, I want to do something that fixes it, but it doesn't seem like protesting is really going anywhere. It seems like we've been waving these signs for about a year now and waving these signs, right? Nothing seems to be happening. How can we build real power? What the F is going on? Because it used to be that politicians listened to us when enough of us spoke up. Now there are plenty of us speaking up, and it seems like politicians are purposefully sitting on their fingers. What is going on? That's what this group is here for. I am so sick of people being like, well, there's no problem. And then us spending time talking to those people. Who watches Friends? Boom, 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 boom. That's what I say to those people. Because if you still don't think that there is a problem going on, then I don't care to try to change your mind. Eventually, people only change their mind, right? When something bad happens to them personally. So we don't need to fight with them because it's like, oh, they're never going to change their mind until they experience it. That's it. There are two ways people change their mind. They experience the hardship, right? Or something better comes along. So Kathy, I used to think that spreading that stat, here's what she says, 9 people own more wealth than half the population. That is correct. And it's like, certainly people will wake up if they hear this, and they won't. We can't just try to change their minds with moral arguments. We have to make it compelling. We have to make it practical. We have to make people excited about it. Let's just build an economy and a world that works for people instead of against them. That's what we're doing. It's working for people, not against them. So here's what we missed, is that we still think that protesting is power, that power is elections, that if we just elect better leaders, if we just yelled louder, we'd get out of this situation, but we can't shut it down. That's the problem. Kathy, I appreciate you because your energy and your enthusiasm is what's, helping to push this whole thing across the country and people like you. But there's one missing piece, I think. Even if 100 million people protested tomorrow, well, the very next day, we'd still go buy our groceries from the corporations. I will, Clayton, thank you. We'd still go buy our groceries from the corporations. We'd still pay our rent and our utilities and our health care to the same people we are protesting against. And that's really the big difference. So yes, protesting and boycotting are the strongest things we can do. Striking and boycotting are the strongest thing we can do. We cannot strike. Most Americans do not have economic freedom. In order to strike, you need 3 months or 6 months of savings. You literally need 6 months of savings, right? But most Americans don't have that. And in order to boycott, we need non-corporate options, right? We need non-corporate options. So we can call for as many strikes as we want, but until people actually have the savings to strike for a month, ain't shit gonna happen. We can call for as many boycotts as we want, but until we have tons of other options, local grocery stores, local general stores, shit, we should start having our yard sales in the parking lots of Walmart, right? So Justin, that's it. But what you're doing is you're asking individuals to do something risky in order to help the collective, right? So, and that's where we all need to understand, people like Brad, we don't care if you don't understand this, right? We don't care if you don't understand this, because all that we're saying is that corporations do not care about you. That's it. Corporations don't care about you. And not only that, the rules are set up so that they're legally required to not care about you. They're incentivized to take care of their shareholders, not you. They will screw over thousands of families just to raise their revenue 0.05%. Purdue just did it. They fired, 2,000 workers in a small town? And what I think of is not even the 2,000 workers. I think of how many freaking children did they have, right? Yeah, I know. That's what's so funny. So that's where we don't need to try to push back. So symphonies, it'll never happen because you can't push back on a system that people depend on, right? You can't push back on something that controls you. Most people don't negotiate for the simple reason that the farther behind you get, the more desperate you become. Nobody's ever really, it doesn't seem like we take the time to think about this because everybody has to go back to paying their bills and going to work, right? Because what happens is they made sure, so it comes down to there's no more competition. So there used to be all these local grocery stores. There used to be local general stores. There used to be local pharmacies, local hardware stores. And if we walked into a Walmart and that Walmart employee didn't smile at us, we would walk our ass out and go to Sherry's general store, right? If we walked into the grocery store and they didn't have quality fruit, we would walk out and go back to Cardium's general store or Cardium's grocery store, right? So the fact that they got rid of competition made it so that we had nowhere else to go. So we think that we choose to go shop at these corporations when in reality, the majority of us don't have any other options. So that means we're dependent. So when people are saying, oh, revolt, revolt, you cannot revolt against something you are dependent against. What I like to call us right now, sorry for the sad imagery, but we are children of an alcoholic parent. We Americans are like children of an alcoholic parent. Because what we are trying to say is, hey, can you stop doing that, please? You're harming us. But because they've got a disease, just like greed is the disease, they say, oh, we can't do that. We can't do that. And part of the reason they don't change it is because the child has no leverage. The parents are the ones that pay for the food. They pay for the housing, the healthcare. So when we try to ask for change without any leverage, we can't. But guess what? We don't need to take back all the leverage. We just need to take back a little bit. Just like that kid doesn't need to go buy their own house, but they might say, hey, I'm going to go stay at my cousin Stevie's for a couple days. And boom, it's not leaving forever, but it's reducing dependency gives them power. Charmitria, great to have you. Reducing dependency gives them power. So that's where we've got to understand that they keep us broke because when they keep us broke, we get more desperate, right? We get more desperate. And the more desperate that we get, the more likely we are to accept that job, right? So, Monk, what you're not understanding is that speaking out is one of the most important things people can do because that's what enables everything else. If people didn't speak out, Chop Yui. So that's the thing. People understand it. People understand it. What I like to compare, Chop Yui, is cars versus horses. Let's flash back 100 years ago. What's up, Heather? Let's flash back 100 years ago and say, hey, America, who has been horse dependent for the last 50 years, here's this thing we call a car. We don't have it built yet, but this is our idea. Now, obviously, that car has some issues, but it's going to be better for the majority of people. Well, it's because I'm not an influencer, but we need a car that would be better for the majority of people. But if you try and argue with all those horse owners that they're going to get a car, right? That they're going to get a car, right? Oh, I can tell, Monk. That's where if you are here to distract, derail, and divide, you're not welcome here. Because it's so funny. It's people that sit behind their screens and don't do anything that throw the most shade. Come on, come up with some ideas. Do something yourself. Don't just poke holes. Because honestly, it's the people that are like, oh, you're not doing enough. Here's the purity test that I have that you didn't pass. It's like, no, you're a problem too. Because literally, if you're like, well, what are you doing? You're just talking on the internet. You're not as important as me. You are literally the problem. You are literally the problem. Because we've got to understand that for a lot of people, speaking out's the only thing they can do, right? And then after they speak out, the next step people take is changing their personal choices. Not everybody can do that either. Then even after people change their personal choices, then they start protesting, pressuring, pushing back. And even that doesn't matter. That's what's so funny. Protesting and pressuring and pushing back has to be coupled with building alternatives and forming local connections. And it's only once we build all of that together, speaking out, changing your personal choices, protesting and putting pressure, and also creating new alternatives, then we have not even the ability to, not like ready to change it. We've got the ability to make our voices heard. Not that it's going to happen. We have the ability to make our voices heard. But we can't even build that little pyramid to make sure that we've got everything in sync working together. So Midnight Cowboy, that would be great. But we have to roll it back a little bit more because they said end Citizens United, elect non-Nazis and non-fascists. We have to understand that the orange man is the symptom, not the disease. Yeah, that's a big old growth coming off of our nose and making it hard, but it is a symptom of a deeper problem. It's the fact that we've completely lost the economy. We cannot vote with our dollar. If that was the only problem, the media would tell us the truth and people would get mad about it, right? And then finally, they completely control the political process. So that's the problem, is that what we are seeing now with Citizens United, with our rights being taken away, with a federal police force roving across our cities, it took us a long time to get here. It's not just one person. It's not the left side. It's not the right side. It's not foreign influence. It's not lazy people. It's not the Fed. It's the fact that corporations are incentivized to take more and more and more money. The CEOs rewrote the rules so that there's literal laws that put corporations over children, corporations over kids. There we go. I finally got the alliteration. And what we need to understand is that we actually can fix this. It's not like insane. Oh shit, y'all. I forgot. So if you're feeling this, Discord link is in the bio. Discord link is in the bio. If you are feeling this, come and join it. Corbin, great to see you, my friend. If you are feeling this, come and join us, because what we are doing is we're forming action groups. We start small and we build up. You know how we're starting off? We can either write letters to the editor. What's up, 7-Eleven? Write letters to the editor. We get 3 or 4 people in your area. That not your thing? We're building local gardens. You want to apply pressure even more? You can go to the local chamber of commerce. It just takes 3 people in each town, 3 people in each city, right? And that's where we've got to understand that anytime that we put people in silos and stick labels on things, we're going to be pushing off the majority of people. So it's definitely not a new system is what's going to fix it. it would be having guardrails against human nature, no matter what the system is, right? So that's the issue. And so how do we actually fix it? Because it feels like corporations control absolutely anything. Find what, Jennifer Cooper? Because that's exactly what we are building. Find your letter to the editor. There we go. So go ahead, join the link in the bio. The Discord is where we are literally forming our state groups. So let me tell you what the Discord is like. We've got a national chat group, and that national chat group is where we all start talking about the actions we're going to take. We have literal actions that we can take that make it so that they stack on top of each other. The chats, you mean the Discord? Yeah, Jennifer, anywhere that you can get 2 or 3 people. Well, what we want is groups of 3 and more, groups of 3 to 7, groups of 3 to 12, right? And then whatever it is that gets people fired up in your area, whether it's protesting against your mayor, then what if you all wrote letters to the editor of your local newspaper that also push back against that mayor? Just whatever it can be. And then, like, maybe somebody else in another part of the country also hates their mayor. And you're like, hey, this is what we did. We took down our mayor. You know what I mean? And that's what it is. Or Heather, maybe you come on in, you come to the local, or you come to the chat in the Discord. And maybe the first thing you're doing is, hey, I'm trying to form a local group to push back against ICE. Is anybody in this area, right? And then we've literally created like its own thread, its own post that shows people, hey, Heather is here doing this. Oh, I'm sorry, Heather. Let me, I'll find it. On Discord? I don't know if, I don't know what happened. Did you send me a friend request or what did we end up doing? I want to check this. The link in the bio is not working. Heather, I don't see any messages from somebody, so I don't know what happened. It worked fine for me for the Discord. Oh, you tried the link, but it's not working. Man, I clicked on it and it worked just fine. You have to do it in an external browser. Cool. Awesome. I'm glad. Okay, cool. Awesome, y'all. So, and then, you know what? Let me go ahead and I'll start from the beginning. So where we talk about first is understanding the different levels of where people are at. Because if we understand where people are at, golly day, it makes everything so much easier. So people take different actions simply based on their environment and experiences. That's it. We call people evil. We do all of this. And really, their experiences inform their understanding. Their environment informs their understanding, right? So a lot of people say there's no problem at all because they don't feel that there's a problem, right? There's nothing wrong. Their friends are doing fine. Then here's what the other one. The problem comes down to personal choices, right? So so many people say, oh, they're just lazy. Oh, they're doing this or that. Not at all, right? So those are the two where it's just like, do we really want to spend all of our energy fighting with somebody who truly doesn't believe that after all that they've seen, that there's nothing going on? Even if you don't even look at it politically, simply look at, I just use my grandparents. My grandfather was a mother effing pinball machine mechanic. Let me say that again. A pinball machine mechanic. He would drive around in the different bars and fix the pinball machines. And he had 5 children and 2 cars. And my grandmother didn't work. Where the F is that? Right? That's all we're saying. And now we're in this situation where corporations care so little about us or the consequences that they put frickin' sawdust in our Parmesan cheese, that healthcare insurance companies actively want us to not live just so they can hit their quarterly bonus. Why is it set up so that our healthcare company gets a bonus if we don't live? Jennifer, I think that that's a good idea, but I think that rather than trying to convince people, if we make something that works better for them, we don't need to convince them. So Jennifer, my idea is find one item that you can do better than Walmart. Here's my idea: laundry detergent. I want to buy local laundry detergent. And if somebody was selling me laundry detergent, so that's what it is. It's rather than being like, oh, Walmart's here. It's like, hey, here's some non-corporate laundry detergent. Every dollar that Walmart gets leaves this community. So the less political that you can make it, or still political, but like the less like red versus blue. And obviously you can try what you want. But yeah, I'd say do that. We need to go to the Walmart parking lots and show people. So the other part is, well, and Jennifer, you've got great ideas. A lot of what we're saying is, hey, hop into the Discord. Maybe you'll find some other people that want to join you with that, right? That's the fun part. So let's get down to the tougher aspects. So then if we see there's a problem, we then think the problem can be fixed if we all work together to change the system. Now, in a sense, that is correct. We do all need to work together to change the system. But if we are completely dependent on the system, so much so that we have no leverage even for our voices to be heard for 1 minute, then even if all of us come together, we still can't change the system. Because this is where I say it like this: the ultra wealthy do the calculation. They hear that there's 1 million of us about to go protest. And then they look at their watch and they go, how long are they really going to be out there for? This is what they did during Occupy Wall Street. How long are they really going to be out there for? And most of them will only be out there for 3 or 4 days because they got to go buy food. The rest of them, they've got to go back into work in 6 days because they got to pay for their house. FT, we are building a customer base for people like you. That's what this really is to me. I'm a small business owner. That's what gets me jazzed, the economic aspect. Because I think the more that we can separate people, the more that we can get people economic freedom, the more ability they'll have to create their own political freedom. That's what I mean, Catherine. Occupy changed nothing. Because all we did was protest. We have no leverage whatsoever. We have to build that leverage in order to get them to listen to us. The key to make lasting change, let me go through this slide, and the very next slide, we'll go over it. Thank you, Jennifer. Hope to see you in the Discord. So here's what people think. Well, we need to all come together to change the system. Supa dupa, that's the funniest thing in the world because number one, that does not make a movement that lasts. Number two, I'm doing this for my children. So I'm supposed to show them what? Because you can't just say, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong. You have to show people the right way. And if you think the Second Amendment is the right way, well, number one, it's the not smart way. Our military has like 30 times the budget of the next 20 countries combined. It's like so silly. Not at all. So it's almost like how people see Trump and he's a poor man's idea of a rich man. A gun is a powerless man's idea of power because it feels like that gun gives you power, but it doesn't. Not lasting power, at least. And that's what we are talking about. Lasting power. I'm talking about a decade, 2 decades, not just one or few things. So I'm not arguing with you because that's just not the right way forward. Not even the less that I'm supposed to go do that and then tell my children, right? I don't know what that means, Corbin, but I can get rid of them. Because that's what this really is that, I don't know what that question means, Reaper Screw. We're trying to build a world where people's value isn't based off of thank you, Corbin, where people's value isn't based off of how much money they make, right? That's what it is. We're living in a world right now where your value is based off of how much money you make, and that makes no sense. So essentially, here's the last part, is we need to recognize that even if 1 million of us come together, and it's so funny because it's sitting right there in his profile, Corbin. It's weird for them to do that. But so basically, to build the leverage, we need to control some of our economic situation. If we controlled our food distribution, we'd have a little bit more power, right? If we controlled our health care, we wouldn't need them as much. And not needing them is the leverage that I'm talking about. So that's really, in order for them to have our voices heard, we need to build leverage, and not needing them is leverage. Because without it, if we need the very system that we're trying to change, it's almost impossible to force change in a system that doesn't have to change, right? Because they're sitting there like, well, what do I have to change for? There's no reason to. And that's where the next slide is what really brings it together. That's the momentum loop. That's where we bring together the people power that protests create with the economic power that alternatives create. And so I can't remember who was asking earlier, but what is the key to all this is what they said. The key to all this is, yeah, we still stay protesting, we stay speaking out, we stay loud, but we don't just talk about what's wrong. We have to build what's right. Because going back to Jennifer's Walmart analogy, hey, could we stand outside of Walmart and tell them that Walmart is evil? That's one idea. Or you could stand outside of Walmart and figure out how to beat them, right? Because you're never going to beat them based off of how many products you can offer. But we can care more. That's a big one for me. I would go to any general store that remembered my kids' names. That would mean a lot to me. That when I walked in there, they're like, oh, hey, Mr. How's it going? You know, da-da-da-da. And that's what we are building towards. Because once you show people that there is actually a better way, you are the economy. We are the economy. Yet the economy works against us. And all of us 80s babies, we've heard whispers of a previous world that actually worked for us. And shit, people born in the 50s and 60s and 70s, y'all have lived it. You've seen the world where corporations don't frickin' dominate everything and screw us over every chance they get. Absolutely, Corbin, because not only that, small businesses keep that money in the community. Every time we go and shop at Walmart, that money goes all the way to an asshole family in Arkansas, right? That's what it really is. Absolutely, Heather. And Heather, I am so sorry. I don't know if I missed it or what. I will make sure to get with you right after this because I don't see any messages unless like I said, I could be messing something up. So my apologies there. But the Discord link is in the bio. So it's not even just shopping local, though, because let's pull up this one more chart. Because no matter how much we change our personal choices, it's never going to be enough to alter the system. Because essentially, they control everything we need to live. They control everything we need to live, our food, our housing, our health care. So we can try to change our choices, but every month we all pay our internet bill to the same corporations. Every single month we pay our rents and our mortgages to those corporations. We pay our gas bill to the corporations. So what ends up happening, yep, absolutely, Corbin, is that people, they realize there's a problem, so they speak out. So we start off speaking out. We realize there's a problem, right? Then we're like, all right, we're speaking out enough. You know how we can change this? If we all change our personal choices. So that's what we start doing, right? We try to shop locally. We do everything we can to decouple ourselves from corporations. But ultimately, we realize we can't. We still pay our health insurance, our car payment, our housing payment, all to corporations. So we go, what the hell? This is messed up. And then we start protesting and we start putting the pressure on and we start boycotting. And then eventually, that's what I say this group is for. If you are sick of the protesting and saying, all right, we protested, when does shit change? What do we do next? How do we make this bigger, stronger, and better the next time? Because it sure as hell doesn't seem like they listen to us. Well, it's not getting more people on our side. We're never going to get 50, 60, 70 million people to agree. But what we can do is what I talked about earlier, build better alternatives. You can stand outside of Walmart and yell to every single person, Walmart's evil, they're screwing you over. But they're like, yeah, I need to go get paper towels for $3. I cannot go to the local place to get paper towels. And if I try to go to the health store, paper towels are $25 a roll. So what you need to do is you need to come in with a cheaper and better option. Then we're not convincing people to not shop at Walmart. You go, all right, maybe you need to buy 80% of your things from Walmart. But if I made my own laundry detergent, but that's the thing. Somebody mentioned use rags and wash them in the river. This isn't going to change if it's a chore. It's not going to change if it's a chore. We're not going to get 50, 60, 70 million people to agree on all doing an action to fix it. Just like we didn't all agree to switch from cable to streaming, and I guess now back to cable, we didn't all agree to switch from local markets to grocery stores. They simply built something better. That's what it is. Well, Richard, once we get enough people to understand this, the very first step is codifying things locally, because we already have it in multiple cities across America, is where they've taken money out of politics laws and essentially say, all right, if money in politics is allowed federally, we aren't going to allow it in our state. But yes, by offering alternatives as well, too. But then protecting those alternatives by codifying it, because what we do is the same way that this all comes down to localism for corporations. Because if a corporation is local, if they don't have 1,000 communities they depend on, if they depend on one community, they care about that community. And just like a politician, if you have a local politician that is a city council member, they will actually care about what happens. Versus that state senator, they don't give a shit because they depend on 1,000 communities. It's the same thing when people live near their constituents or their customers. When they are a part of the community that their business serves or that their district serves, people are more accountable. And that's what this is. So we go from speaking out. This is basically everybody's personal journey. We all go, oh shit, there's something wrong. We need to speak out. And then we go, oh, I want to be doing more. Okay, I'll start changing my personal choices. Oh, well, that doesn't seem like it's doing as much as I want it to be doing. I'm going to start protesting and putting pressure on the system. Oh, shit. It doesn't seem like the system's listening to me. Well, fuck the system. I'm going to build a new one. But the final part is this. We've got to understand that there is a symbiotic relationship between building alternatives and protesting. And that really is the final part to making all this come together, is that this is a momentum loop, right? A momentum loop. Long-term actions set the table by planning and organizing. And that leads to people being able to take immediate actions. Those immediate actions, they have an instant impact. They apply pressure on the system, but they also bring in new people. And recruiting and bringing in new people leads to more long-term actions, and more long-term actions starts the loop over again. Not at all, Texas, because I don't want to do something that's going to fail. And even using those words will fail because the majority of Americans don't want that. It's about how you talk about it. Because really, what we believe is we're like, oh, if we ask hard enough, this will get fixed. Well, we have got to remember, this is not getting fixed. Fascism doesn't just go away. So we're not going to make them change. And it's really hard to force change when we could just go somewhere else, right? It's kind of like being like, all right, I work for, I work for Amazon and I have the ability to go work somewhere else. But rather than just going to work at that nicer company, I'm going to stay here and fix it. Well, actually, going somewhere else is what gives you leverage. So that's what we are building is, essentially co-ops where the money goes back to the people. That's what it is. Kohlers, that's where this movement is for people that are pissed of a protest, that are saying it's not changing things. So why are we spending all of our time and our energy to go stand in a cold park together somewhere? That's because we are using protests as the end goal rather than the fuel for cooperatives. Protests are not the end goal. They are the fuel for a new economic reality, a system that works for people instead of against them. Because what mass actions really do, so start with the green arrow right here, mass actions, they don't do shit besides bring people together in a locality. That's what it is. All they do is bring people together. And those people must stay connected. That's the point of a protest. Not to just express our frustration, but to stay connected afterwards. Because what ends up happening if we stay connected? We start finding or mapping, or we map or build our local alternatives, right? We map or build because there are already farmers in your area that want to give you healthy food at an affordable price. There are already doctors in your area that want to provide you health care at an affordable price. It's the fucking corporations that are the goddamn middlemen that don't really do anything. They just control access and then they bleed us dry because, as we talked about earlier, they hate us. They are here to screw us over every chance they get. So local groups form more. There we go. Put myself in the middle. Local groups form more non-corporate alternatives. Those non-corporate alternatives, they are the key. That's the key to all this because we need to reduce our dependence. We don't need to become Amish. We just need to not rely on the billionaires and the corporations 100% of the time. Let's just rely on them 80% of the time. And then we'll have enough leverage to be like, yo, we already left you 20%. We're going to keep doing this unless you fix this shit. Because we are so sick of it working against us. The economy, we are the economy. The economy should work for us. Say right now, the American economy is like a car, but it's without an engine. And it needs us to push it. But every time we go and we push that car, the people driving it, the politicians, the corporate leaders, they run us over. We're pushing the car forward. We're the only reason they're going forward. And then they run us over. So then next. So Fresh Prince, that's what we need. But I don't think many people understand that. And then not only that, if you understand that in your, in Philly, well, it's really hard to go if you're just going by yourself. That's where we have us form 3-person action groups. So Fresh Prince, say you wanted to go sit on the zoning board in your area of Philly. You would come into the Discord, you drop it into the national chat, and you could @ everyone in Pennsylvania. And that's what this is. You're able to come in and you say, I'm sick of sitting on the sidelines. We're not even going to start with going to the zoning board. We're going to write letters. So if there's anybody else in Pennsylvania that's willing to write some letters with me to the local zoning board, this is what we're going to say. Then, Fresh Prince, you've amplified your voice and your thoughts and your actions times 10, 15, 20 people. And then the awesome part is that maybe somebody in Iowa sees the same shit that you're starting and goes, wait, I feel the same way. Or Jennifer here goes, well, what if it wasn't for our city council? Could we do it to our mayor? We hate our mayor. Hell yeah, Jennifer, go get it, right? That's what this is. Because ultimately, if we are able to either apply pressure, if we are able, well, Fresh Prince, that's where this is supposed to be a symbiotic. We have so many people in Pennsylvania, but we can't be everywhere. I'm down in Maryland. I'm looking to coordinate as much as I can, but we need like what we call state coordinator, state facilitator to join that facilitation team so that essentially you can pop in and we can just be one of your, areas that you get people, where you gather people. And then the whole goal would be to get all of the indivisibles and all of these different groups so we're in one place, so that then all the local action groups that are already formed in Philly can be like, all right, is anybody doing this? Oh, you're doing letters to the editor campaign? Well, what if we did that to the zoning people? Oh, let's go do that to the Chamber of Commerce, to the city council. And then we come back and we go, look what we did. We actually fixed it. Because there are so many people that are just looking for someone to show them the way, to give them the spark, to say, I want to do something, but I want to do something that's effective. And I don't know what's most effective. And that's really what I see as the issue, Fresh Prince. I don't think that I think we have enough people that are awake. But I think the number one question people ask is, how do I get involved? Like, who do I find? Because I think so many times we just expect people to show up at protests. But protests feel lonely unless you've got a group of people that you're meeting with, right? So that's where we need to have these groups set up beforehand. We need to start taking small actions together online so that when it comes time to take small actions in real life, we've already built that structure. Absolutely, Corbin. It's how do we connect protesting to everyday life? And that's really what it comes down to, is how do we connect protesting with everyday life? Because what it really is people don't trust others until they've taken actions together, right? That's what it really comes down to. People don't trust others until they've taken action together. And so we're trying to get people in one space to start taking an action together. Well, honestly, Mary, we've got a lot of people in Pennsylvania. And this is really the idea, is to say, all right, we need somebody to come in. We've got 10, 20, 50 people. We probably have 80 to 100 people joining the Discord every week. And then if somebody like you, Fresh Prince, is able to pop on in, right? And be like, all right, I'm involved with this group and this group. And I am coming to this group, and that group. And we are all coming together to do a letter writing campaign. And then we're going to find all the people that actually took action and did that letter writing campaign. And they're going to be our core 4, core 8, right? So then when we're ready to actually go to the zoning and planning board, we can reach out to the people that have already written letters with us. And we've got the space where all of that can happen. That's where Mary, you're already in here. You can help recruit, right? So we're looking for Utah, baby. So that's where, remind me. Come on in, because we're on. So go follow us on YouTube as well, y'all. TikTok is very volatile. So if you go follow us on YouTube, you get a much clearer example of when we're going there. And that's where, Corbin, good to see you, my friend. I'm just assuming you are busy there, buddy. If there's anything that we can do, let us know. But it is so great to have somebody so aligned, because that's what gets me jazzed. It's the economic aspect, because I just think of the Jennifer asked earlier, could we stand in front of Walmart and tell people they're evil? It's like, yeah, you could. But if you stood in front of Walmart and gave people a better option, shit, then you're not trying to convince them. You're not arguing with them, right? You're simply building something that they're like, oh yeah, Walmart doesn't really work for me. They're just really cheap. But man, I hate that they're such assholes to me. Okay, I can pay $1 more if you're not going to be an asshole to me. I think a lot of people would do that. Especially if they know that, yeah, we're paying $1 more, but that dollar is going to somebody in my community who's going to pay taxes in my community, versus this dollar just going to the Walton family that they're just going to hoard. But that's the real thing, y'all. We've got enough people protesting. It just is, protesting can't be the end goal. I know, that's what's so insane. It's so insane. It's like, it's almost like this is the way things work really well. But that's where we've got to understand, is that protesting is not the end goal. Protesting allows us to form connections with people in our area. Forming connections allows us to form local groups. And those local groups have 2 jobs and 2 jobs only: to find non-corporate alternatives. So you already check what's up, Merrick? Good to see you again. So you go ahead and check every single non-corporate alternative in your area, and you make a map of it. You map non-corporate alternatives. And then once you've made a map of the non-corporate alternatives, you see where there's a gap. Damn, there we go. I got it rhymed. You map and find the gap. And guess what? This is why Corbin and I are so excited. That gap, that's the business we're going to start. Because people are sick. People are sick of having to use the corporations, of depending on the corporations. They want a non-corporate local option. So these groups are going to come together. Fresh Prince, that's why we need you, my friend. Because you're the one that knows what's needed in your area. We want to be the carnival barker. This is almost how I see it, is where I'm here every day. We got Isaiah making videos. He's so much better than I am. And we're the carnival barkers. Hey, y'all, anybody in Pennsylvania? We got a new state facilitator in Pennsylvania that is getting people together to either run for political committee seats or support the people that are running for political committee seats. Drop in the comments and type PA if you're in. And then everybody that comes on in, we go, all right, connect them with Fresh Prince, get them into the Discord, do this and that. And that's how we see this working, is this will never work. And that's where Corbin let us know. I just had the realization last night. I'm terrible at the videos. I'll still make them. Isaiah's incredible at them. But that's where he's like, hey, let me know. I'll say whatever we need to. So I think that's our next thing, Corbin, is, hey, if you're in Washington and you're ready to knock on some doors at the state capitol, we got people doing it. Oh, shit. Fresh Prince, I got somebody on Instagram that's in Pennsylvania that wants to join up with you. Kathy, I got somebody over here. Oh, no, you're good, Mary. No, we'll post the videos. That's what I'm saying. We'll do it, like me, like Corey and Isaiah. That's what it is. Well, and that's where we'd love to get that symbiosis going. We'd love to. Is that y'all or a different organization that I? But that's where it's about, I think, linking that connection where however it is, whatever we're not doing that you're doing, we'd love to get people over to you and vice versa. because what it's really about is just having more mass actions. More mass actions equal more connections. More connections forms the local groups. Local groups map and find the gap. And then once we have actual local alternatives, we can boycott. We're just building towards boycotting. We're building towards the boycott. That's all it really is. Because the way we can actually change things is boycotting effectively, is saying, oh shit, we don't have to go back to Walmart. I don't have to go to Home Depot. There are local here, right? Oh, that's awesome. And that's where I think somehow connecting the web of all those groups. That is great, Laura. Would love to talk. That's where, like, that's what this is. It's a place where we can all come in, share our strategies. Fresh Prince would love to have you in there. Discord link is in the bio. Same with you, Laura. That would be amazing. Appreciate seeing you back again. And we've got people like Corbin already in there helping us lead the way with the economic understanding of where we're at. We are already building these action groups across the country to show people that, look, Heather, I've got a longer response to that in the Discord that I can help you out with. But I think it's a lot about establishing that culture. Because what I always think is you could vet as many people as you want. But if I was trying to infiltrate somewhere, I would just lie during the vetting, right? So what we actually do to, figure it out is we look for people that are actually doing things. So people that are just talking, people that are just sowing division. We've already had to get rid of a couple. So that's where it's almost like people show their true colors sooner rather than later. We're not doing anything bad, illegal, wrong. Yes, we'll have to watch out for subterfuge. Corbin, good to see you, my friend. Go right ahead. I was just rambling anyways. How you doing today?
All right. So, communication. As Corey just said, there's always going to be bad actors. There's always going to be someone who wants to let themselves in to gain information. The way that I've talked to the people in my state who are interested in organizing is that I'm not the leader necessarily of the state, but I'm one of the first ones that were in there in Washington, and I'm doing a lot of networking. But I am talking to certain people in different areas about what they're doing, and they have their hyper-local groups that are talking to each other in order to securely deal with comms type stuff, to even if there are detractors and problematic people within, if they do not have certain information. So if you are in the Discord or you are in a group that's other, conversational groups outside of this, you'll only use limited information. Like, I'm starting my community group, and I'm also working with the Washington Action Group. I'm not going to tell you when I'm doing what unless you're with me. If you're in my hyper focused group of people that I know are trying to do actions across Washington,
Earn trust by building it, right? Yeah. If you haven't yet, join the Discord.
Disseminate information that is need to know to those people, and they will disseminate information in their little pods that they need to until the most important information gets to where it needs to go, especially the day of.